Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. This deep dive, we're tackling ADHD coaching. We're going to be looking at practical strategies that can really make a difference in your life and the science behind why they work. So whether you're someone who's looking to kind of up their own game in terms of managing your own life, or if you're looking to understand how to better support somebody with ADHD in your life, this is the place to be. We are diving deep into a guide that was actually written for mental health professionals on ADHD coaching. I know that might sound a little intimidating, but trust me, it is packed with insights and techniques that we can all benefit from.
Absolutely. And it's important to start by really understanding that ADHD, it's not just about fidgeting or distraction, right? We hear that all the time. But at the core, it's actually about challenges with what we call executive function.
Okay, executive function. Break that down for me.
So think of executive function like your brain's management system. Okay, it helps us plan, organize, regulate our emotions, all of those essential skills that we need to navigate through daily life. And for someone with ADHD, these everyday tasks can feel like, imagine trying to juggle like a dozen flaming torches while riding a unicycle at the same time.
Yeah.
It's not about a lack of intelligence or effort. It's a genuine struggle with those brain functions.
Wow, that paints such a clearer picture than just like, oh, just be more focused or try harder.
Right.
So then how does coaching come into play?
So coaching is distinct from therapy. It's a partnership really focused on building those practical executive function skills that we just talked about. So instead of delving into past experiences, ADHD coaching is all about developing strategies for the here and now. It's about empowering you to take control and really create positive change in your life.
Okay, so it's very action-oriented. Does that mean, though, that like the coach just tells you what to do?
No, not at all. ADHD coaching is highly personalized. It starts with identifying your goals. What do you want to achieve? And then from there, we take those goals and we break them down into manageable steps, and we figure out what truly motivates you to stay on track. It's not about finding a cookie-cutter approach. It's about what works for you.
So it's kind of like a custom-designed workout plan for your brain.
Exactly.
I love that. The source material mentions visual tools like the ADHD Life Wheel and an inspiration toolbox. I'm a visual learner, so those really stood out to me.
Well, those tools are so powerful. So, for example, the Life Wheel helps visually map out different areas of your life and pinpoint where those executive function challenges might be hitting you the hardest. And then from there, the Inspiration Toolbox is all about brainstorming those motivational strategies that really speak to you. It's about tapping into what gets you going, what gets you excited, and using that to your advantage.
That's so smart. Okay, let's get practical. What are some of the specific strategies that maybe our listener can start using today?
Okay, so let's start with time management. For many people with ADHD, time can feel like this really slippery concept. We call it time blindness. And timers and visual schedules, they're not just for kids. These are valuable tools for adults, too. They provide that concrete external structure that can make a huge difference.
Yeah, so like making time more visual and engaging, so things like using whiteboard calendars or timer apps, or even just like physically writing things down can be game changers.
Yeah.
It's like giving your brain a way to see time more clearly.
It is.
Our guide mentions that for some people with ADHD, the act of writing things down actually helps them remember better.
That's true. That physical act of writing engages different parts of the brain, which can be really helpful for memory and recall.
Right.
The key is to experiment. Find what clicks for you and run with it.
So true. It's all about customization. What about organization? I struggle with that one.
Well, organization is another area where a personalized approach is key. It's not about finding that one perfect system. It's about experimenting and discovering what works best for your brain. Maybe it's color-coded folders, the specific app, or ditching the traditional binder altogether for something more visual and hands-on.
I like that. I think there's a really great point in the guide about how there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, right?
Right.
Because brains are like snowflakes.
Exactly.
No two are exactly alike.
And speaking of unique approaches, let's talk about motivation. For people with ADHD, finding that internal drive can be a real struggle. But it's not about forcing yourself or relying on willpower. It's about uncovering what truly motivates you on a deeper level.
So instead of punishment, it's about finding those things that like light you up and get you going.
Absolutely. Think small rewards, engaging in a favorite activity, or even the simple satisfaction of checking something off a to-do list. It's about recognizing what gives you that sense of accomplishment and harnessing that energy.
Love that. Our source material also mentions strategies like metaphors, mantras, and something called the Eisenhower Matrix.
Oh, those are fantastic examples of how ADHD coaching taps into different ways of thinking and learning. So metaphors can help make those complex ideas more relatable. Mantras can provide like quick bursts of motivation or focus.
Mhm.
And the Eisenhower Matrix is a really practical tool for prioritizing tasks based on urgency and importance.
I'm definitely going to have to look into that one. It sounds like a great way to get organized and avoid feeling overwhelmed.
Hmm.
But what happens when, like, even these strategies aren't enough? Like, when ADHD shows up with things like anxiety or depression?
Yeah, that's a really important point. While coaching itself doesn't directly treat those conditions, it's crucial to recognize when additional support is needed. So coaching can work hand in hand with therapies specifically designed for anxiety or depression to provide a more holistic approach to well-being.
So it's like having a whole team of support working together. This guide also mentions that sometimes simply having to report back to your coach can be a powerful motivator in itself. That accountability can be key for some people.
It absolutely can. Knowing you have someone to check in with, someone who understands your challenges and is invested in your success, can make a world of difference. It's like having a personal cheerleader and strategist all rolled into one.
That's a great way to put it. Now, before we dive deeper into those specific strategies, let's take a quick detour into the science behind all of this.
Yes. Let's unpack the DSM and the ICD.
Okay, so we're getting a bit technical now, but I'm ready to learn more about the science behind ADHD.
So the DSM and ICD are kind of like these comprehensive field guides to mental health. They provide a framework for understanding and diagnosing a wide range of conditions, including ADHD.
Okay, so it's like having a detailed map of the brain and all of its potential quirks.
That's a great analogy. So the DSM, which stands for the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, that's the primary guide that's used in the United States. And it goes beyond just listing symptoms. It really delves into those developmental aspects of ADHD, how it progresses over time, potential risk factors, and even explores cultural and gender considerations.
It sounds incredibly thorough.
It is. And the latest edition, the DSM-5, has even updated the criteria for ADHD, putting more emphasis on those executive function challenges that we talked about earlier.
That makes sense. What about the ICD? Is that similar?
So the ICD, or International Classification of Diseases, it's actually developed by the World Health Organization and serves as a global standard. So it covers a broader spectrum of health conditions beyond just mental health, which makes it like a universal language for healthcare professionals around the world.
Ah, so it's like a common ground for communication and understanding across different countries.
Exactly. And many countries use the ICD for insurance purposes, so mental health professionals really need to be familiar with both systems.
So it's like having two different maps that lead to the same destination. Both are valuable for understanding the complexities of ADHD. But remember, our deep dive isn't about giving you a clinical diagnosis. We're all about those practical strategies. But having the scientific backdrop, it helps us appreciate why these strategies are so effective.
Absolutely. And speaking of challenges, our guide highlights some common areas where ADHD coaching can really make a difference, particularly in those 5 key areas of executive function: managing time, organizing and problem solving, self-restraint, self-motivation, and regulating emotions. These are the skills that really help us thrive, but they can be major stumbling blocks for individuals with ADHD.
5 key areas. Wow. Those are essential for pretty much every aspect of life.
Think of them as the pillars of effective daily living. And the good news is that coaching offers targeted strategies to strengthen each of these areas.
So it's about breaking down those seemingly insurmountable challenges into smaller, more manageable pieces.
Precisely. And what's fascinating is that many people with ADHD, they actually know what they should be doing, but they struggle with the execution. Coaching bridges that gap between knowledge and action.
It's like having a personal trainer for your brain,
Yeah.
guiding you through those steps to reach your full potential. Our source material outlines a really cool problem-solving approach that coaches use to help people make those changes. Can we unpack that a bit?
It's a fantastic framework. So it starts with clearly identifying that specific issue that you're facing. So let's say it's procrastination. That's a common struggle for many.
Procrastination, yeah, we've all been there.
Next, you brainstorm potential solutions with your coach. This is where the magic happens. Together, you explore different strategies and figure out what might resonate with you best. It's a collaborative process of discovery.
So it's like a brainstorming session, but with an ADHD expert guiding you toward those solutions that are most likely to stick.
Exactly. Then comes the exciting part, choosing the solution that you want to try. So let's say you decide to break down that huge, intimidating task into smaller chunks with specific deadlines.
That's a classic time management technique. But it makes so much sense for ADHD.
Absolutely. The next step is crucial. You and your coach discuss potential barriers and how you might overcome them. This is where you anticipate those pesky roadblocks that often trip us up and develop strategies to navigate them.
So it's about being proactive and planning for success,
Yes.
not just reacting when things go wrong.
You got it. And finally, the most important part. You actually put that strategy into practice. You test it out in the real world, see what works, what needs tweaking, and then you evaluate the results with your coach and make adjustments as needed.
It's like a science experiment for your brain. You have a hypothesis, you test it, and you refine it based on the data.
That's a great way to think about it. What's so powerful about this approach is that it empowers you to take ownership of your own growth. You're actively involved in every step of the process, from identifying solutions to troubleshooting obstacles and adapting strategies to fit your unique needs and preferences.
It's all about personal empowerment. Speaking of real-world examples, our guide features some incredibly insightful case studies. Would you be open to exploring one of those?
I'd love to. Let's take a look. How about the case of Trey, a college student struggling academically? Remember those forms we mentioned earlier? The ones that coaches use with their clients? Trey's coach had him fill out several, including a coaching topic survey, a Barkley Deficits and Executive Functioning Scale, and an academic success inventory for college students.
Okay, so they're gathering information, getting a holistic view of Trey's strengths, challenges, and areas where he needs support.
Exactly. And what they discovered was fascinating. Trey's case was a classic example of what we often see with ADHD. He had all the classic symptoms: trouble starting assignments, difficulty managing his time, even forgetting to go to class sometimes. He knew what he needed to do, but he just couldn't seem to make it happen consistently. And it turned out that his parents had been his main source of structure and organization throughout high school.
So he hadn't really developed those independent executive function skills yet. Like he had been relying on an external brain boss for so long.
Exactly. And that's where coaching stepped in. It was all about helping Trey build those internal structures, those mental muscles he needed to succeed on his own. They worked on creating a realistic schedule, breaking down tasks into smaller steps, and finding ways to stay motivated, like incorporating rewards or tapping into his interests.
It's really cool how they were able to personalize those strategies. It's about recognizing what works for Trey specifically, not just throwing generic advice at him.
You nailed it. And here's a really cool detail from the case study. Trey's coach used that juggling metaphor we discussed earlier to explain how ADHD impacts executive function. Remember those multiple balls in the air? They literally acted it out in a coaching session using actual juggling balls.
Wait, they actually juggled. That's
Oh.
brilliant. So hands-on and engaging.
It was. So Trey started with one ball, then two, then three. And as he added more, just like with tasks and responsibilities in real life, things started to drop. He realized that trying to manage too much at once was setting himself up for failure. The coaching process was all about giving him the skills and strategies to become a better juggler, so to speak.
What a powerful visual representation. I bet that made a huge impact on Trey's understanding of his own challenges.
It definitely did. It helped him connect those abstract concepts to a tangible, real-world experience. Now it's important to remember that coaching is a journey, not a quick fix. Trey had setbacks and moments of frustration. There were times when he struggled to stay on track. But through it all, his coach was there to provide support, encouragement, and those practical tools to help him get back on course.
That consistent support and accountability is so crucial. It's like having a personal trainer cheering you on and helping you push through those tough moments.
And the results speak for themselves. By the end of coaching, Trey had made significant progress. He was managing his time more effectively, his grades were improving, and most importantly, he had developed a stronger sense of self-efficacy, that belief in his own ability to succeed.
That's incredible. It's not just about checking tasks off a list. It's about building that inner confidence and resilience.
Absolutely. And that's one of the most rewarding aspects of coaching. Witnessing that transformation and seeing individuals like Trey take control of their lives is truly inspiring.
Our guide also points out that ADHD coaching can be incredibly effective when used in conjunction with other therapies, especially for those who might be dealing with anxiety or depression, along with their ADHD.
It's all about finding the right combination of support that meets the individual's unique needs. Coaching isn't about replacing therapy. It's about complementing it with practical strategies and tools to empower individuals to thrive.
It's like having a whole toolkit of resources to draw from. So what are some of your biggest takeaways from our deep dive into ADHD coaching?
For me, it's the emphasis on personalization and that collaborative partnership between the coach and the individual. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. It's about finding what truly works for each unique brain.
I agree. I'm also struck by how coaching bridges that gap between knowing and doing. It's not just about information, it's about empowering people to take action and create lasting change in their lives.
It's about giving individuals the tools to become their own best advocates.
Absolutely. And here's a thought for our listeners. Think about something in your own life that feels like a constant struggle. Could some of these ADHD coaching principles, like breaking down tasks, identifying your motivators, or finding a system of organization that truly works for you, help you approach that challenge differently?
You know, whether you're navigating ADHD or simply looking to level up your executive function skills, there's a wealth of resources out there to support you.
With the right knowledge and support, you can achieve anything you set your mind to. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring at Catcher.